Okay, welcome to part two. So in part one, we looked at how to grab text and create a glossary for architectural terms with Python. We used requests, the request package and the beautiful soup package to do that. And you can look at the previous video that's linked down below to go through this code or have this code explained. But now that we have this, how are we going to use it? So let me just run it quickly. So again, we took this glossary in Wikipedia and we grabbed every term and its definition and created a list of those. So if we run this, sure enough, creates a list where each element has the term as the first element in this sublist and then the definition. And it goes on for 235 items. Each one, portico, and then the definition of a portico. Okay, so we have that. What if we want to get a picture? Because I mean, it's architecture. The words are great, but the picture might be nice. So how would we do that? All right, let's just add it to the code we have. Now, I started off trying to do this with a couple different tools. I tried it with Google's Doodle, which is a great tool. It's really clean, but they didn't have a lot of architectural terms. And then I tried it with search Google Images, and I was unsuccessful. So we're going to use Flickr. Flickr has over 10 billion images. Flickr should work just fine. Okay, so first thing we need is to paste in or make a function really. So let's do that. I don't know why it skips down there. Okay. So this takes a term. So here's a term that's passed to it, and then it returns a drawing of it. Let's do term and a category. The category we know is architecture. But this way, someone else could search for a term in a different category. The reason we might want two is we want to search for a term, but that term could be in other things too. Like an architectural term is a scroll, but a scroll has other definitions. So if we include the category, then we might not get as many wrong definitions as we would otherwise. Okay. And let's go here and put this in. Okay, this is, so Flickr, we're using the Flickr API. We probably need to add the Flickr API up above. So let's go up here and add that. And now, so it's going to want a key and a secret. Now, I don't want you to see my API key or my API secret. Probably doesn't matter, but you know, you want to keep your key and secret separate from other people. So I'll try to do that, but I'll still show you how it works. All right, next, we can get a bunch of errors. So sometimes we want to do a try, but we want to see those errors at first if we get any. So let's not use try at the beginning, but we could turn try on for later. Okay, so let's print searching for term, and then the term just coming from there. And then we could do plus in category space, okay, plus category. Okay, you notice how it went from gray to white when it was added, because now this variable has a use. It's being called. Okay. All right, now we get our, we're going to call and returned images equals. So then here we're calling the Flickr. So here we set up the Flickr API and we're sending it these things. So this is creating an instance of the Flickr API and we're calling it Flickr. So then when we do flickr.photos, photo search, then we're calling this function on this instance of this object. So then here we have the term, the text equals the term. So this is looking for anywhere in the text, the description, the title, the tag, it's looking for this term. And then in tags, I have architecture. I just hard coded it in my earlier testing, but let's make that a little better. Let's call it category. Okay, per page. How many records per page? We'll just get 5 because all we need are 5 really. I think extras, we're doing the original URL as an extra. And then we're going to sort by interestingness descending. So the most interesting first. All right. Now what? So now we need to go through and look because it's going to bring us back sort of a weird thing. Why don't we just run this? Let's return returned images and see what we get. Okay, so then let's call this our R equals search Flickr images. And then, so you'll remember that R is holding this whole glossary, right? Let's just do like a few of them. In fact, we're going to have to just give it 1 because we don't have anything to handle this list. This only takes 1 term at a time, which is fine. But let's call this R0. And R0 is going to have what? Or we could do a different number here. But R0 is going to have these 2 in it. So what we probably want is R0 and then 0 again, because that's going to get us abacus. Okay. So if we send this out to search, let's see what we get. Let's play it. Now it's giving us an error because the app key is not defined, etc. Show toolbar. This keeps popping out. All right. Okay, let me grab my API keys. All right, I'm going to pause the video. So I'm going to run this and then with my API keys in, and then I'm going to resume once it runs through. Okay, I just ran it and it says searching for term abacus in category architecture. And I come down here. Above this are the the R, the Wikipedia text, you know what that looks like if you watched the first video. Just shows them all. And then here we've got the second. This is RR, and it's just looking for that first one. We're asking for 5 back, and this is what it gives us. Okay, so we've got this XML, and it has this information. So it's got the title and its family and part of URLs. Not super straightforward. And then here we've got the photos, and that's where we will be hanging out. And then we have pages per page. Oh, and it's got 75 pages. Did we need 374 items? I don't think so. So here we've got each of them, the 5 on this first page. And then here's all the information about each one. Okay, the ID, the owner, the secret, title, is family, etc. The name, the text, the XML, and there's that for each one. Okay, oops, let me get out of that. Okay, so it looks like it's bringing it back, or it's bringing something back. So we could go in, where is it? We could go in here and we could do pages equals 1. And then instead of getting 75 pages, we probably just get 1 page. Okay. So now what do we need to do? Well, we probably want to format it into a URL we can use. So let's try that. So let's grab the stuff. So here we've got returned images, right? So if we do if return to images dot photos, because you'll notice down here we've got this photos category, and this is a dictionary, I believe. So it's going to work a little different than just a huge list. So we've got photos, and then we're just going to care about the first photo. We're going to hope that the first one works. It might be better to have a collage, but let's just grab the first one. Photo 0. Oops. There we go. So if we do this, if we do just, let's put this in parentheses. Okay, so now it's just if this exists. Okay, so if this is a thing, if there's a 0 with photo, and we know that there is down here, now we need to build a URL. And that's sort of tedious, but we can do it. So let's do it. So the farm, you'll notice down here, there's all these different things. There's a farm number and a server and a secret. That all is part of the URL. So we're just going to build, we're going to make variables out of these so it doesn't get out of control. Now, I'm changing this because it's our returned images thing. And what else do we need? I think we need the ID. Which is also, oops. That. And then we need the secret. And so we're building all these variables up, so then we can make a Flickr URL. With all of these. Okay. So now we've got, excuse me, this URL, and it's taking all of these and putting them in the right order. And then here we're getting, I think this is the medium JPEG. We could change this to O, which would be the original JPEG of the image, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Now what should we do? Maybe we could print the URL. And now we probably just want to return that URL. I mean, there might be reasons to return more than just the URL, but let's just return the URL. Okay, so this, oops. Let's bring that over into the if statement. And then here we'll just have else. Let's just print photo received. And we could just return an empty string. Okay. Now let's run this again and see what happens. And again, I'm going to pause it, press run, and then I'll restart it because of the secret issue. Okay, I just pressed record again. I just ran this code again. And look down here, we've got, yep, that all works out. And then we were searching for this term. And here we get, oh, file not found. Boo. If we change this back to M, I think it was M before, right? Oh, look at that. That looks like it might be a winner. Okay. So let's go over here, change this from O to M. And we could run this on a different one. Instead of on 0, 0, let's just pick a random number, 145. And I'll run it again, see what happens. Okay, and you'll notice that this time, look at that. And what was that about? A marriage stone. What in the world is a marriage stone? 145. French roof, curb hip roof, in which each face has 2 slopes. Lower one steeper than the upper one. Okay, is that what we just saw in that? Is this a marriage stone? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, well, you get the idea as to what this does. And we might bring back multiple images, so one of them is a marriage stone. Maybe that was. It showed a roof, but from the inside, more like a tent. Right. Okay. Let's add something that will handle looping through, so we get all of these and we add them to the list. So how would we do that? Oops. Let's make a new function up here above this one, and let's call this function take list of terms and add URLs for each. What a very long title. And let's go for each. Okay, so we got the list of terms. So this is going to be all of the terms and their definitions. I got this R Wikipedia text. So, oops. Let's go here. And so it takes a list of terms, checks each one for images. Remember, I tried using Doodle at first, but it wasn't up to it. For images in Flickr. Okay, then we're going to want a new list to hold what we find. And then we're going to have a total items. So we've got this total items counter because we're going to use a for loop. I don't even know if we need the total terms. Let's not use it. See if we need it. We'll bring it back. Okay, so then let's use a for loop for going through each of these. So for term in list of terms. So we're passing it this list. Remember, it's a list with many lists in it, and each mini list has a term and a definition. So for term in list of terms, D equals search Flickr images. Make sure, yep, they match. Search Flickr images. And then term, remember, this term in list of terms is still a list. It's a list of 2 items. So we want to pass the first one. And we could pass a topic, right, or a category, but we know our default category is already architecture, so we don't need to pass it anything more. And then D is just the return value. So what would be better than D? Maybe like term image, because that's what it's going to hold, image URL. Okay, so we got the term image URL is going to be what's returned, because remember, this returns the URL or an empty string. Okay, now what? So then we want to do if term image URL does not equal is exclamation point equals, does not equal empty string, then we want to do something. Now we probably want to add a third element even if we don't get anything back, right? Because later we might be looking through and we're looking for a third element, and if there's nothing there, we might want to bring back just an empty string so we don't get some error. So maybe we don't even care. If it comes back as an empty string, then it's okay. We'll still add it to our new list. So let's get rid of that. And here we go. We've got new list. Come on. Go. And then we don't want that D. It's going to be this. So let's move that over there. And so we've got term 0, which is the actual term, like lunette. And then we've got term 1, which is going to be the definition of a lunette. And then the third item in this new list is the URL. Okay. Then what do we want to return? New list. So this should hold a new list with everything in it. Well, we probably need to get this sort of long in this. Now we don't need this search Flickr images one anymore. We can just do that. And then what do we want to send it? We just want to send it our entire list. So now we should get we should get like 235 lists inside of our big list. And the first element is the term, the second is the definition, and the third is the link to the image. Okay, so when we run this, I'm going to pause and then I'll run it and then unpause again. Okay, so I ran it and it went for a few. It brought these back. So here we have accolade. We can look at it. Okay. But then it got here to antiquire in category architecture. And we got this error that says, hey, there's no attribute photo. So we're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. So I thought if we put this and just said, hey, if this exists, then do this, otherwise do that. But it didn't work. So what if we add that try in here? We do try and we can just indent that. Now, if we try that and it comes back successful, then we don't need this if statement here. And we can move this over with Shift Tab. Okay, so try this, and then if it works, do these things. Okay, and return it. And then this is not try anymore, it's accept. Try, accept. Yeah. And I just looked up the try and it's saying, I don't even want that there. Let's just do G equals that. Okay, so it's going to try this. And if it doesn't work, accept, print no photo received, and then return that empty string. So maybe now this will work where this error came up, has no attribute photo. And maybe we'll be able to get around that. So I'll pause this again. Okay, so I pressed run again and check it out. We have lots of URLs. Now we do have some that say no photo received, but we don't have a big error. It didn't like crash our program, so that's good. And so here we've got aisle and category architecture. Click on that, bring that over. That looks sort of like an aisle, pretty grand aisle. And we could go down to another one. This is a barge board. No idea what that is. And then here's the image it brought back. And it goes on and on and on. So you'll notice that most of them now have images, but some don't. Like footstall in category architecture. So what we might have to do is we might have to create a second round where we send this back to the search for images, and we take out this word architecture to see if that helps, and maybe we get something for footstall where it just didn't have a tag where it was tagged with architecture. Okay, so now you'll notice over here on this side, we've got three. We've got the 0 is the term, the 1 is the definition, and the 2 is the URL to the image itself. And some of these, which was it? Was it the arch? Didn't have it. No, the arch had something. We looked at that one. It was some other one. Footbridge or something. Footstall, there it is. Okay, so if we look at footstall, we've got the definition, and then nothing in the URL. So we could like make a for loop and it would just loop through this entire list, and anytime it finds one that doesn't have something in where the URL should be, it goes and looks and does a more broad search and then brings something back if it finds something. So that would be the way to, expand this and make it better. But that's the idea, and this is how it works. I hope that was useful in exploring. At the bottom, now we can use this terminal part. We could find out how many don't have anything in that second one. We could do count equals 0. Then we could do for item in RR, because this console has all of these variables in it already. So I can just run it straight down here for item in RR. If, now remember, this item has 3 elements, so we want that third element. If item 2, because of the 0, that's the third one. If item 2 equals empty string, then count equals count plus 1. Let's go back here and do print count. Yes, I did mean that. Shoot. Okay. 25. Now, why did it print this so many times? Well, because I had this inside the for loop. So it's printing count every time for every item in there, whether or not it was that. If this would have just been out here, or if I just did count right now, then it gives me the 25. So there are 25 items that don't have images out of the 235 items. Okay, hope that was useful. See you next time.